check out Simon Cowell's buffet.
There was an event that we were going to the one time. It was an after party, but again, it was at Stringfellows. And these music parties are at strip joints. Why? Is there because there's a way of hiding things and
hidden rooms?
Yeah, and so I went in and I kind of like got trapped up because I hadn't eaten all day, so I went and got a Subway, and then but I saw my dudes were like waiting to go in, and I ran across the road, and they'd gone in. And I was like, oh, I'm with them, you know, and then I had to show like an invitation type thing that we had, and they let me in, but then I didn't see the dudes I went with. But I saw this guy from a record company. He actually was at Island Records, one of the first people I met at Island Records. He was a really cool dude, and I saw him, and he went. So I thought, well, he's obviously here as well. So I ran after him. I was like, hey, dude, you know, I'm gonna say his name there, but I ran after him. He looked at me like, it was weird. He was shocked that I was there, and I was just like, what? Like, why are you shocked? You know, and he was just like, oh, right. So he's like, who are you here with and stuff? And I was like, I explained to him, and he was like, here? And I was just like, what is the deal? Like, what are you doing? You know, so we went in this room, and he was like, you're gonna go to the buffet? And I'm like, why would I want to eat? Well, why would I want to eat right now? I'm like, I'm in party mode. I'm looking for my friend. Like, let's get drunk. Like, have a laugh, you know. And he was just like, all right. And he was going in, and I was following him. He was just so weirded out. And I went in, and I'm looking around, and there's all these guys over here, and there's some people young dudes who I've seen on the road, you know, guitar techs or people who are trying to get in the industry, like young, who they're just trying whatever it can to get in the industry, and you see them out on the road, right? And I see one guy, and I'm thinking like, I swear this dude's like not. I'm sure he's underage, and he's not old enough to be in. Because I mean, I've seen him on the road. He's not allowed to drink and stuff.
Yeah.
But weird out, right? But he wanted to be a singer. He wanted to be get a record deal and all that stuff. And anyway, so I see him, and then like I see a few other people, just like singers that were at shows, like that kind of scene, that kind of industry showcase scene.
Yeah.
You know, and so. But then I see like over in this other area. So there's basically what I'm saying is there's kind of industry people, there's people who are trying to make it, and then there is this other vibe, right? And it was like, what is going on here? Because I look over here, and there's like young people, like young dudes and young girls.
We're talking under.
Yes, we're talking like 14. Right. Maybe even as early as like 13,
right,
14, and it wasn't just a music thing, because I was seeing people who I knew were involved in film and TV at an executive level, so not small people, like people who were at companies like ITN, not ITN. They were at what's it called? One of the big companies used to do a lot of stuff with ITV. Not ITN, another company.
Yeah.
Endemol, actually, they're called.
I used to work for Endemol.
So I see a guy who I know is an executive.
I used to work for Shepherd's Bush, Endemol, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I see a guy who I know is an executive there.
Right.
And I know he's at the company. I'd kind of been in, when we had to do meetings with them, I'd seen this guy there. So I recognized him. So I was like, all right. I was like, so this is like a film thing? What's going on? You know, and that hits me. I'm like, but I'm in a strip club. Like, what is the deal here? And also, like, the clothes that the girls were wearing. Some girls were in like very see-through type stuff. You could just see their breasts. You know, like, it was just a bit like, oh, you know. And then I kind of look up at the guy who was looking at me the whole time, and I look at him, and I'm just like, and he kind of looks at me as if you weren't invited here. And he kind of realizes like, you shouldn't be here, you know. And he just like says that to me. He's like, you shouldn't be here, you know. And I'm just like, what the fuck is this?
Was this like, hang on, was this like the whole of Stringfellows? Was this like a side compartment of it?
Like
you followed him to the
yeah, I went to the left. Then my friends had all gone just straight into like the normal open straight.
You went,
and he went left, so I just followed him. And that's now the whole conversation he had made sense to me. He's like, he was asking, how did I get invited to this? This is not for, you know. But he was thinking like, oh, so brains must like, these guys must be really like hooked up with people.
Yeah.
And so I was really freaked out about it, and I kind of like left, but I did just remember seeing certain people that not only that I kind of knew that they were a part of, like they were like big agents and stuff like that.
But you didn't see any sort of celebrities? Or...
No, not celebrities, but I saw people who I'd come to see on TV shows. Like when there was a TV show about a big artist's career or whatever, and you see this guy and it's like, oh, this guy is one of the biggest managers in music, or this guy is actually, someone like Max Clifford. And I was like, oh, I remember seeing Max Clifford there, and it turned out it was Max Clifford and Simon Cowell's regular do.
So Simon Cowell was there?
It was their thing.
So Simon, they set it up?
I never saw Simon Cowell, but it was his thing. It was Simon Cowell and Max Clifford's do. It was called The Buffet.
Okay, let's see if I can go to the other video on the buffet. I think it's here, so let's check this out.
And here we go.
Morning. How is everyone? I hope you're all well, you amazing, beautiful, wonderful people. Strap yourselves in, because this is going to be a rough ride. Now, we obviously know what's happening. And get cats, they say. Cats are lovely. Cats are mental. Look. Like that bloody cat will be if it keeps eating my stuff. Anyway. Let's get into it, because this is going to be a rough ride. We see what's happening to Liam Payne, which is an absolute travesty. An absolute travesty. It's the complete destruction of Liam Payne by media. But we have to consider why. Like, a lot of people turn around and say, well, why would it happen? What's the motive? What's the motive in all this? And I spoke yesterday, I did a video yesterday that spoke about a similar situation with Brian Harvey, for instance, and the fact that the media completely destroyed him. And what that, in effect, did meant that anything that he came out and said, anything that he would say potentially happened to people, to him, was something to keep an eye out that was going on, he would just seem like a nutcase. There's still people that claim Brian Harvey's a nutcase, even though he doesn't really say anything without providing tangible evidence, proof of what he's saying. But anyway, that's by the by. What we're going to look at now is something that a few of you had reached out over the last couple of weeks or so and said you need to speak about this. And I'm going to just put a bit of context in it first, because who are the players? So the person who came forward and spoke about it was this guy, Gavin Bain. Now, in the description of this video, there's a link to a video where this guy is talking on a podcast and he talks about the buffet. The buffet. And I know what you're thinking. You think,
I'm hungry, Ash. I'm hungry. I need some food. What are you doing to me? This early in the day and you're talking about buffets. What are we eating?
I'll see images of it now. But anyway, not that kind of buffet. Not that kind of buffet. Talking about a buffet where they ain't eating food. There seems to be young people being paraded in see-through clothing. I can't go too much into it. Go into after it, because like I say, I'm going to add some context to it. So, yeah, this guy here, Gavin Bain, he's in the music industry, he's an author. I don't know why he thinks his book can sell for 90 quid. But like this, fakery, money and betrayal in the music industry. And he said, obviously this book is going to talk about a lot of things. And then we go to this, which is a post that was done on Twitter. Which it says, Gavin Bain courageously addresses the dark underbelly of the music industry and sheds light on disturbing instances involving music executives and the exploitation of, and you can see it on the screen, at after parties, including none other than Simon Cowell. Now, what I will say is, don't shoot the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just telling you that this information exists. And we're going to talk about in a second why that could play into the likes of Liam Payne's death, for instance. And I'm not saying it's a 100% connected. I'm not saying that. But you guys asked for a why. What is the motive? Why would somebody want to completely destroy somebody? Because, make no bones about it, when you look at someone dying, in the situation that they're dying, that's a tragedy. Whatever happens, it's a tragedy, isn't it? Even if you want to go down the route of saying, well, Liam Payne, his life was descending into chaos and that eventually led to death, what should we be talking about? What should really be being pushed out? If people like the media, for instance, and the power that they hold, if they really want to do good for me and you and the millions of other people, the would-be people who wants to go into the industry, what should they be talking about? What truly is the media's relationship with the music industry? Well, we're going to find out. Because this says here about this being Simon Cowell's buffet. But that would actually go on to say within this video that buffet was arranged by not only Simon Cowell, and again, I'm not saying don't shoot the messenger, but Max Clifford. Max Clifford. What eventually happened to Max? Google it. Google. And there we have it. Da, 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 da. So, obviously media, and it had a complete downfall through these sort of things. And then he's linked to this buffet situation. And again, I'm just a messenger. I'm telling you that the information exists. I didn't see it. I haven't been there. I haven't seen it with my own eyes. So we can only say that someone in the industry is saying that this exists, that these things happen, and what they entail. Now, I'm pointing out the fact that, well, it must be it's a bit of a coincidence that this just happened to have been something that was set up, apparently, by Simon Cowell and Max Clifford, and lo and behold, we saw the descent into chaos of Max Clifford. So that gives you a very, very... You side-eye it, don't you? Oh, right. So that seems to be the relationship between the media and the music industry. So when people turn around and say, well, what would be the point of getting rid of someone like Liam Payne? Shall we just talk about that? Liam Payne has a lot of people who loves him. A lot of people. Massive amount of people who does love Liam Payne. We've seen that in the aftermath. Sadly, we didn't see it so much when he was alive, but he had his fans. He had his fans, and he's got a massive fan base. We also saw that Liam Payne wasn't shy about coming forward and discussing things that he had suffered with. Now, it's quite plausible that somebody's bum started twitching because they thought, what is he eventually going to talk about? What eventually is Liam Payne going to start saying? Is there a possibility that he could start saying about certain things that he saw within the industry? Is he going to get older and look back on all of this? Because let's not forget that Liam Payne has a young son. Now, would it ever get to a point where his young son wants to follow in dad's footsteps and he has to truly have a discussion about why he doesn't want him to be part of that industry? And does that mean that he may have to reveal exactly why that is publicly? So this Liam Payne could have been seen as a ticking time bomb to certain people. Now, again, I'm just saying this is only my opinion. This is just my opinion because the information exists, and when the information is put out there, we have a duty to look at this information and say, is it feasible? Is it plausible? Now, Max Clifford has been accused of being part of these buffets and eventually goes down the pan for what you can see on the screen. And if you know much about Max Clifford, you'll know where that all ended up. But yet Simon Cowell hasn't. Now, that could be indicative of Simon Cowell has nothing to do with it whatsoever. Nothing to do with it. It could also mean that he is powerful enough that the media don't want to touch him. That the media doesn't want to go near him. They daren't go near him. He is a very rich, wealthy, and powerful person. Now, if I all of a sudden vanish, I'd probably go and see Simon Cowell. Joke, obviously. Kind of. Now, I did a post yesterday. Now, I'm going to be talking alongside Katie Waisel on this channel hopefully soon. We've got Christmas and New Year, so I might delay it and push it into 2025. And again, for those of you who have followed Brian Harvey, you will understand that Brian Harvey has been decimated in the media. And Katie Waisel herself has a story to tell. Now, some people may say, is this story true? Is it true? And again, we're not here to say yes, 100% that story is true, or no, 100% that story is not. But how many stories have to crop up around the music industry? Because at the moment we're seeing multiple things coming out about multiple people, not just the music industry, the film industry. How many of these stories have to come up before people step back and say, hold the fuck on? There's got to be some truth in this. Well, I've got that on the screen. Let me bring myself focused in the middle so you can all see my beautiful face. But do you know what I mean? How many stories have to come up before people start taking notice? Now, like I say, if you're interested in let's really dig into the bones of everything, then maybe that's something we've got to do. Because maybe that will start answering some questions about why some of these artists do die at a young age, and then in the aftermath of that, they continue to be attacked and vilified and destroyed by mainstream media in the aftermath of what happened. It doesn't make sense. As aforementioned, if the media really has our well-being at the forefront of their minds, then you would be using this as a catalyst for explaining that this could be potentially the damage done by the music industry. And maybe there should, as Katie Waisel quite rightly said, there should be more of a duty of care for these companies to be held accountable for the damage that they do and where that eventually goes to. You can't have your cake and eat it. You've either got to admit that there's something wrong with the industry and it produces problems, and then problems turn tragic, and address it and hold people accountable, or you look the other way and you say, hold on a second, what else is going on here? Why are these people destroyed in this fashion? Raheli O'Nora is supposed to be Liam Payne's friend. His friend? You're completely fucking turning him over. Completely turning him over. Like people kicking off and Maya Henry saying that Liam Payne was constantly trying to ring her. Well, not being funny, that could have just been because she released a book that was clearly fucking slanderous. Yes, he tried to hide it and be clever about it and smart about it and smug, but Liam Payne wasn't a fucking idiot. He would have known what that book was about, and I'd have probably been getting on the phone saying, what the fuck are you doing? But yet again, all of these were apparently burner phones. So there's not anything really tangible that proves that that is true. The decimation of Liam Payne in the media in the aftermath of his death is inexplicable. I can't work out what the point of it is, unless it is to continue to discredit him to a point where anything now that could potentially come out will just be put down to, like in the case of Brian Harvey, he's mental, don't listen to him. His life was descending into chaos. He was just a mess, and nothing that he says or nothing that he said and could come out is right. But that's my opinion. Let me know what you think. What's your opinion? Hope you have a fantastic weekend. If I don't see you before Christmas, I'm going to be here, but you might not be. So if this is the last time I see you before Christmas, have a fantastic Christmas, have a brilliant New Year. But I'm going to be about all the way up to Christmas Eve, and we'll be doing a live before then. Just a Christmas live. I might even try some eggnog. Love you all. Mwah.
All right, let me see if I can find that link that he says. Okay, I think it might have been what we were looking at earlier, but let me just look at it real quick.
There was an event that we were going to the one time. It was an after party, but again, it was at Stringfellows, and these.
Okay, so check out, if you want to hear the whole interview, go to the John Cooper Show. Let's see if we can look at part 2, how artists are groomed. Let's just see how long that is.
Thing. It was Simon Cowell and Matt Clifford's do. It was called The Buffet. And
It's called The Buffet.
And it would happen regularly at strip joints, undisclosed locations, you know.
And they would have like young girls and
it would
boys.
be all about people trying to get into TV, like the BBC youth TV shows, you know, like, or trying to get on shows. And these executives were there for that. They'd have a little bit of a look at them. And then, you know, and I remember seeing that kid again, who was the tech guy who wanted to be a singer. And then he told me about, he managed, from that night, he got accosted by a girl, a woman in her late 40s, and he had sex with her. And I was just like, and he was just like, oh yeah, I had sex with her, you know? I'm like, dude, and like, what now? He's like, well, I've actually signed to Psycho. She works at Psycho, and I've signed to Psycho. And I was just, he was so happy about it. I was like, dude, I don't know if you understand what's just happened, you know? And I seen him like a couple of years later at a birthday thing.
Thank you.
I seen him a couple of years later, and he was just unbelievably depressed. And he was telling me that what had actually happened, that he'd lost his rights. And we're talking about rights. He'd lost his rights in perpetuity forever, owned by Psycho. And it was basically this woman had sex with him and just convinced him to sign the contract she was going to get for him. And she could keep having she could keep having sex when he could keep having sex with her, and she would do these deals for him. And they trapped him into legit his entire life is gone. And so he's always going on the TV shows, Pop Idol and stuff like that. It's the only thing he's contracted to go on and pretend he's just looking for my first time on, and then he gets put in a group. And so they manufacture those groups. And so God knows where all those kids have come from, you know, but they're not coming just from, oh, try out for a TV show. You know, they're already tied up in pre-development deals, and how they got them, because those development deals don't come to anyone, you know. And the reason they kind of from what he sounded, how he described the situation, like the way this woman did it, it was like he felt like I had to keep the secret of the sex I'd had with this woman because, you know, I'm underage and, you know, it's bad on me. It's like, and so she's also now got a secret. You've got to honor that secret, and they tie you into that kind of weird relationship where you're never going to cause a problem because you think you've done something wrong.
Yeah,
you know, and you don't want your family knowing it. So that's one that he's that's a male perspective. So he's kind of like, oh, I wasn't like I could have left at any point. Then you think about the young girls. Could they have left at any point when it's a male in the room, a big heavy fucking film executive or TV executive who can literally make their life, and all they have to do is have sex with them and then give them these contracts that literally ruin their life. There's no way out of the contracts.
Harvey Weinstein's into it, basically. Yeah, and there's no getting out.
And that was like when I couldn't, like, I knew it was wrong at the start, and then every time I'd kind of bump into him or I'd hear what happened, I would just be like, I can't believe they've done this to him, you know. And then I was thinking about all the people just in that snapshot. I was like constantly looking through that snapshot in my mind of when I saw it, and just how wrong. I was going to say his name again, but just how wrong the dude from Ireland turned, and the way he looked at me was basically like, you can't tell anyone, like, that you're not allowed to be here. Like, this is not for you. You don't understand the kind of context of what this is. You know, all these people want to be. You know, his eyes were, you know.
You know about Brian Harvey, don't you? It's exactly the same thing. I'll tell you after. But he basically got walked into, and he walked past. It was like red. Can't remember which club it was, but it was like red rooms, and he went through like a revolving door, and then he saw kids sat round with men in suits.
Yeah,
and he was like, that's a bit off. And he realised that these places are used for Browns. It was Browns in the West End. Yeah. So this goes on.
Yeah, and I you know, a few years later, I was supposed to be guest of honor at the PRS dinner. Like, PRS is like one of the big publishing companies, not publishing, but the rights companies. If you own your own rights, you can use them to recoup your money and stuff. And so they, as a kind of entrepreneurial individual, they just had done this thing in music. They made me guest of honor, and I went and I'm sitting at the table, and the owner of the company is there, and he comes in with these two beautiful girls, and he's like in his 60s, and he's on his arm, he's got two beautiful girls, and I was just like, I was so fascinated. I was like, the first opportunity I get, I'm gonna ask them, why are you here? Like, what is this? How did this happen? And so I got an opportunity because at that dinner, it's a circular table and everyone moves around. I spoke to like a lot of cool people, but I spoke to some people. I had this thing in my head now, and I was kind of a bit annoyed by it, you know, and I kind of kept saying to like people, I spoke to the guy who wrote most of Tina Turner songs, and he was a little bit more of a realistic guy as well. And I was like, look at that. And he was like, oh, and he started telling me things. He's like, oh, you think that's weird? He's like, dude, like, wake up. And I was just like, and so I go and sit down with the girls, and in his seat, in between the two of them, I'm like, can I just be honest? And I can just like ask some questions here. Like, he's like, how old are you girls? And one of them goes, I'm 18, and then the other goes, and like laughs, I'm 18 too. He's like, she's not 18. She's not even of age to be in here. And everyone's seeing this. I'm like, what are we doing here? And I said, why are you here? Like, are you guys gonna, is that the deal? You're gonna sleep with them tonight? She's like, well, our management said that, and they were like with a big management company. And the management said that, like, it's just one night. Just, like, have a good night with him. He's the most powerful man in this kind of side of the music. He can make everything happen. We can, straight fly you right through the industry to where we want to go. They weren't like the most massively talented girls, but they were super beautiful. And so I think that their management thought they're not really great vocals, so and so they basically said that their management had told them to come be his personal kind of escorts, but not in a nefarious way, but like kind of escort him to be there for him that night. And I was like, so what does that mean? Do you have to have sex with him? And they were like, it's not like, they were like, it's not a big deal. And like, I thought they were going to go, nah, but one of them goes, it's not a big deal. And I was like, and I felt from her that it's like, yeah, it's not a big deal because I've been doing this for years. That's why I felt she was just like, this is the biz. And then later we're all leaving and people are outside and I see his car come and the two of them go in the car with him. And it's like, fuck me, man. And I've never seen anything come from that.
Who was that guy? Can we say or not?
It was the head of the PRS. It was like 2009, 2010.
Okay, we'll find out. Yeah.
So
it
was so hideous, and it's just there was so many of those type of events that I had developed like a proper distaste for what was happening, for what I was seeing.
Of course, man.
And so anytime it came to like, oh, Gav, because people say this about me, like, why didn't you just play ball? Why didn't you just give them what they wanted? And that grinds me to, it's like, because do you know who you're asking me to play ball with? And I've got loads of female singer-songwriter friends, and I work with a really good group of young girls, and I just sometimes I go along and I speak to their group and I try to warn them of what to stay away from, right? And places that I know run horrifying things still to this day. And I'll say this right now, and I've been told many times not to say it.
Okay, let me see if I can find the other one. Okay, so we looked at part 1 and part 2, exposing. Yeah, let me see. I don't know how long the full one is. Let me see if this says. Okay. Yeah. All right. So they're just showing you clips, but
it was Simon Cowell and Max Clifford's do. It was called The Buffet. And it would happen regularly at strip joints, undisclosed. There was an event that we were going to the one time. It was an after party, but again, it was at Stringfellows, and these music parties are at strip joints. Why? Is there because there's a way of hiding things and
hidden rooms?
Yeah, and so I went in and I kind of like got trapped up because I hadn't eaten all day, so I went and got a Subway, and then I'm
gonna just see if this comes out. Okay, it doesn't. I don't think. Okay, that's okay. They kind of showed you.
There was an event that we were.
What to check out. So I would say that's the first time I've heard about that. So this is fairly recently, 3 weeks ago. Let me see if it goes. When was this? Weeks ago. Okay, so in the past month, I guess. So I would say you can research this further. All right, so the buffet, Simon Cowell's buffet. All right. And let me go back one more. Okay, so Simon Cowell's buffet exposed. All right, have a good day, and we'll see you next